Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for the Irregular at Magic High School, aka Mahoka Koko no Ritose, Episode 2. And before I get started with this review, I want to mention that some of the stuff that I talked about last week as information that they skipped over, they actually put into into 3 short specials that they made before the anime came out. I'll put links to them in the description box below. Pretty much they explain some of the history of the world. They explain the magic system. They go into some detail about scions, Eidos, the information dimension, CADs, which I call them CADs, but they call them CAD. I'm just going to keep calling them CADs because it's simpler. Um, it's just like, and it's faster too, so yeah. Yeah, they went into detail about a few different things, so they're worth watching. They're only like 3.5 minutes long each, so it's not that big of a deal to it doesn't take that much time out of your day, so it's worth it, especially if you like the series. It'll help make things more understandable once they get into like a little bit of the technical talk, which they will definitely do next episode. Um, but also, one other thing I want to talk about before I get into the review is that I have a new idea of how the blueprint for this season is going to go. So before I said they might like try to speed through the 9 schools competition and then get the Yokohama disturbance arc in there, but now I'm pretty confident in the fact that what they're going to do is they're going to take their time to do the 9 schools competition, and then at the end they're going to add in Volume 8, which is the reminiscence chapter arc for the series, which is essentially the backstory of Miyuki and Tatsuya, since they've been foreshadowing that. So I think they're going to do things that way. Then, if it sells well enough to get a second season, they'll start off with Yokohama Disturbance and then do the best arc in the series, in my opinion, the Visitor chapter arc. So that'll be epic. So that's something to look forward to. But before we get to that, we got to start with the enrollment arc. So, and this I like this episode. It starts off where it left off. Mari and Mayumi are dealing with Tatsuya, Miyuki, Murasaki, all the people there, and they just decide to excuse the situation, and then they leave. Murasaki talks about all the stupid stuff like, I don't think that I accept you now, Shiba. I don't recognize you yet. Your sister should still be hanging out with blooms like us, blah, blah, blah. Right? Who cares? It's Murasaki. Like, no one cares. Let's be honest. After what we saw from Tatsuya in this episode, we know he could destroy Murasaki in like a second and a half, maybe even less. All right. So let's be honest. We don't care about Tatsuya or Murasaki, and Tatsuya doesn't care about him either because he knows that Murasaki is no threat to him. All right. So boom. All right. Murasaki and his friends leave, and the only ones left are Tatsuya and his friends, along with Honoka and Shizuku, who I still don't think we've gotten her name yet. Yeah, I don't think they've actually told us her name yet, but I'll just tell you now. Her name is Shizuku Kitayama. All right. What we do get, though, is Honoka's name. She introduces herself and apologizes for the whole situation, and she even calls Tatsuya Onisan. And he's like, no, just call me Tatsuya. We don't need to get into all that. We have enough brother-sister jokes here to appease the incest fanboys. You know, incest is wincest. We don't need more Oni-san little sister characters. It's fine, all right? So they actually end up going walking to the station together, I should say, not to their house, but like walking to the station together. And the topic ends up coming up that Tatsuya, being an engineer, a good engineer, he actually does maintenance on Miyuki's CAD, all right, casting assistant device. And that actually gets Erica talking about her CAD, asking if Tatsuya can do maintenance on hers, and he's like, nah, I'm not as good with specialized CADs as I am with generalized ones. And you know, that one thing leads to another. They start talking about scions and helmet splitting. What you need to take out of it, don't worry about all that technical talk. The thing you need to take out of this is that helmet splitter is like a secret technique, all right? And Erica Chiba, she knows about it. All right? It's a secret technique that she knows about, and it's also difficult, yet she's acting like it's no big deal for her. So not only does she know about secret techniques, but she's also more talented than people give her credit for. All right. Essentially, she's not normal. Okay, a normal person wouldn't know about helmet splitter or be able to use it, stuff like that. So she's not normal, and that makes Mizuki think like, are there? I guess normal people at our school are actually kind of rare. And this is when Shizuku speaks up for the first time, and she says, I don't really think there's I don't think there's such a thing as a normal person at a magic high school because using magic itself isn't really normal. So that's interesting. That tells you something about how non-magicians think about magicians, which is actually one of the things Mimi says in the third special. Right, in the third special, she talks about how some humans that can't use magic view magicians as inhuman monsters. So that tells you how society. So not only are magicians split in terms of like weeds and blooms, but magicians in general are split when it comes to other human beings because they view them as monsters. So that kind of lets you know how a couple of the arcs in the future are going to go. There are going to be conflicts between magicians, but also conflicts between magicians and people who don't approve of magicians. So that's something to look forward to. Now, the next scene we see is the next day. Tatsuya and Miyuki are on their way to school, and Mayumi goes up to them pretty much to invite them to the student council offices at lunch. And in the light novels, Erika, Leo, and Mizuki were actually there as well, and they got the invitation as well, but they were just like, nah, we'll pass, it's fine. So the dialogue was a little bit different since they were there, but nothing too worth mentioning. Once lunchtime does come, they do go to the student council offices. We get introduced again to Mari, but we also get introduced to Suzune and Azusa. Yeah, well, we saw Azusa last week, but we didn't. This is like a legitimate introduction, okay? And they're looking at the way Tatsuya and Miyuki react to each other, and Suzune says like, you two look more like lovers than siblings." And it was funny because Tatsuya he actually played along with it to it that he ended up saying at the end, "Of course, I'm kidding." And then everyone was like, "Oh, really?" And then Miyuki got disappointed. It was hilarious. Oh man, that was funny. Um, in the light novels, the way it went was funny too because there was a little extra dialogue, and Mari was disappointed as well because she says like she tells Tatsu that he's actually pretty boring because like she wanted that to be true so that he could be interesting, but it wasn't true. Therefore, he's not as interesting as she thought, and therefore he is boring. But then she ends up taking it back and saying, "You know what? You are an interesting person." So it was just a funny scene overall. Um, in case people are getting their hopes up, you probably shouldn't ship Tatsuya and Mari because Mari already has a boyfriend. Just saying. Technically a spoiler, but not a big deal. I'm not telling you who he is, so yeah, I'll just leave that there. But anyway, once they finally do end up getting down to business, one thing that gets mentioned is the club management group. And the translation's probably different. In the light novels, they call it the Club Management Group. On Crunchyroll, they called it the Extracurricular Activities Federation, which is, yeah. I'm just going to call it the Club Management Group, because that's much better than freaking Federation. What is this, wrestling? Like WWF over here? Like, no, I'm just going to call it Club Management Group. All right. And they explain how different positions are filled, how the student council president is elected by the student body, and then he or she has the power to elect or um, that she can accept or dismiss any officers from like any other club slash organization, with a couple exceptions, one being the club management group and another being the disciplinary committee. Right, and we also learned that when it comes to new members for the disciplinary committee, the student council selects one, the faculty selects one, and the club management group selects another. Right, and that becomes relevant later on because that's the loophole they used to bring Tatsuya on board to the disciplinary committee. Okay, because the reason they brought the two of them in the first place was because they wanted to have Miyuki join the student council. Right, but Miyuki, she pretty much displays the belief that I mentioned last week about how Tatsuya doesn't get the acknowledgement he deserves. All right, so she tries to get them to bring him onto the student council as well, or just instead of her. All right, and Suzume explains that that's impossible because it's essentially a written law in the series that the members of the student council have to be first course students or course one students. They have to be blooms. All right, so in order to change that rule, they would have to overhaul the entire system, which would require a vote from the student body, and the student body isn't going to vote for, well, half of them are blooms, half of them are weeds, but some weeds will probably get a decent amount of them would probably get pressured into voting against it anyway, so vote wouldn't help. So it's just impossible, really. It's just impossible. So yeah, so Miyuki ends up saying, "Oh well," and accepting the invitation to join the student council as a secretary. However, Mara uses that loophole that while the student council has to be made up of course 1 students, there's actually no rules stating that course 2 students aren't allowed in the disciplinary committee. Okay, so she mentions that to Maimi, and she's like, you know what? You're right. So since the student council hasn't made their recommendation for the new member of the disciplinary committee yet, they end up nominating Tatsuya. And they pretty much have it set in stone already. And Tatsuya's sitting there like, wait, don't I have a say in this at all? Like, it was funny. And he's trying to figure out a bunch of different ways to get out of it because he just doesn't want to deal with it. It's just too much of a hassle. He's like Shikamaru in that regard. He just doesn't feel like dealing with it. And in order to try and get out of it, he tries to use like a logical approach. However, Suzune he ends up asking like what the duties of disciplinary committee are, what they entail, and Suzune can tell that he's trying to he's going to use that in order to try and find a way out of it. So she keeps her mouth shut. All right. He looks to Suzune, and she's like, "Nope, I'm not giving you any help." He looks to Mari, and she's like, "Hey, I'm enjoying this situation. This is funny. You're not getting any help from me either." But then he ends up going to Azusa, and Azusa, it was kind of mean of him actually. He could tell that she would cave under the pressure, and so he went to her next, intentionally knowing that she would tell him exactly what he wanted to know, and she does. But before he can try and use it in order to get himself out of the situation, the bell ends up ringing. So yeah, they end up continuing that conversation after school, and Tatsu ends up talking about the situation he's in with Erika, Mizuki, and Leo. They're at this. They're doing practical training for operating CADs. It's like basic stuff, all right. But Tatsuya uses that time to explain to them what's going on, and once they hear about this, Erika, she says that she just does whatever she wants. So that could refer to either Mayumi or Mari. I don't really see it referring to anyone else. It's either Mayumi or Mari. And the fact that she's talking like this means that she must know at least she knows one of them at least. Right? She knows them enough to be able to state how she acts normally. So that's something to look forward to later on as well. Actually, I kind of gave a hint towards it earlier, but unless you already have knowledge of the series, you wouldn't be able to recognize what my hit was. But yeah, that's that. Tatsuya ends up doing the part of the training, and he's not very impressive, to be honest. He's in the light novel. They just straight up told you that he's like, out of his entire class of 25. Not his year, but his class specifically, class 1E. Out of the 25 people in his class, he's like, in terms of practical abilities, he's like on the bottom. Like, he's like, it's bad. It's bad. And he's thinking like, I'm this bad when it comes to practical skills. Like, there's no way I can join the public morals committee. There's just no way. All right. And after school, he goes to the student council offices, or public morals committee, disciplinary committee. I'm calling it two completely different things, but they're the same thing. The light novel calls it the public morals committee, so I guess I can switch to that. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I'll just, whatever I say, I say. Just know that they're the same thing. Where was I? Oh yeah, yeah. After school, they end up going to the student council offices, and Tatsuya is planning to just say no. All right, but Hattori is there. All right, Hattori is there. He walks over to Miyuki, introduces himself to her. He ignores Tatsuya completely. All right, until it's time to object to his nomination to joining the Public Morals Committee. Okay, and he's just like most of the other people in the school. He's got that bloom lead mentality. All right, and he's just obsessed with the notion that Tatsuya, being a course 2 student, must be weaker than everyone else. He just it's impossible for him to be capable of actually succeeding as a member of the Public Morals Committee. He just can't, because he's just weak. And Mari says, you might think that he's weak because of his certain practical skills that he has that he doesn't exceed in. However, there are different types of practical skills, and one of the ones Tatsuya exceeds in, one of the ones he does excel in, is actually being able to read activation sequences. And that catches Hattori off guard, and he actually talks about how remarkable of a feat that is, talking about how there's no way he can do that. Even the simplest of spells has what was it, 30,000 like characters of data to read through and analyze in your head. Like it was crazy. Like it's quite the feat. And so you can tell what Tatsuya is doing is impressive. He really is smart. All right, but Mari ends up saying, yeah, he can do that, so he can be helpful. He can stop people before they even use magic in the first place, so it won't end up becoming a contest of strength. Of course, even if it was a contest of strength, I could handle it, but it won't need to come to that, right? And then Mari ends up saying there's another reason I want him on the committee as well, because the way it is right now, it's not only Course 1 students policing Course 1 students, but it's also Course 1 students policing Course 2 students. And all that does is allow the gap between them, the dissension, to increase. All right. So her thoughts here are that Tatsuya, being a Course 2 student, will be able to police over the Course 2 students, which will prevent that gap from increasing. And it will also show, like, wow, this Course 2 student is a member of the Public Morals Committee. If he can do it, then I get, like, if we work hard enough, we can do it too. They're actually not discriminating against us as much anymore. So he can kind of become an inspiration for the Course 2 students as well. So it's him joining the Public Morals Committee is a good decision. And Hatsuri can't counter that at all. So that's when he switches to talking to Mayumi and saying, "Come on, don't let her do this. Like he wouldn't be able to do anything. Like he's already been proven wrong, but he's still using the same arguments. It's hilarious when you get people to like lower themselves to that point, like when they realize they're beaten, but their pride won't let them accept it, right? And that's the point that he reaches when he goes to Mayumi. But this is when Miyuki steps in, right, and starts talking about how I don't remember if the exact line was used in the anime, but in the light novel, she mentioned that the exam that First High uses doesn't accurately gauge Tatsuya's abilities because his abilities are such that it's just the things he excels in are not things that the exam tests for, right? And that will end up getting explained next week, as long as they follow the light novel to some extent, which they have been doing so far, just like skipping over little things here and there. But this is like a big scene, so they'll definitely explain it next week. So um, yeah, so that's that. Speaking of what they will be explaining, Tatsuya actually steps in to defend Miyuki because Hanzo Hattori over here was being a hypocrite, saying, "Oh, magicians are supposed to be calm and rational." Yeah, he's sitting over there saying Tatsuya's too weak to be in the student council, but he hasn't even seen anything Tatsuya can do yet, or be in the public morals committee. So like, the guy's a hypocrite. And Tatsuya uses that fact to kind of goad him into accepting his challenge of a practice match. Okay, so you could tell already like something legit's about to happen. And Miyuki, in the hallway when they're alone, apologizes to him for getting him into that situation. But Tatsuya says, and he actually said this last week too, but I forgot to mention it. He says, "You're always getting angry in my place since I can't get angry myself." Okay, and if he can't get angry himself, it has something to do with his situation, whether it be as a magician in the school or with his family, or maybe he just doesn't have the confidence to think that he is capable of getting angry at someone who treats him badly because of how low his practical skills are, or whatever. It has something to do. For some reason, he can't get angry about things like this. So that's something that is relevant and important. So I'll look out for that as well. But him and Miyuki end up going to the room that the practice match is going to be held in. Hatsuri's standing there like, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to beat him easy. It's going to take like 20 seconds. Then Tatsuya comes in. The match starts. Tatsuya beats him in like 10 seconds. As a matter of fact, it was probably less than that because it was like slow motion and stuff too. So in reality, he beat Hatsuri in like a second. Like it was pure domination. Right? He one-shotted him. He ran right past him, appeared behind him, pointed his gun at him, boom, pulled the trigger, and Hatsuri fell down to the ground. Eyes were rolled over like the freaking Undertaker. Like he was done. All right, it was an awesome way to end the episode. All right, an awesome way to end the episode. Something they didn't mention is that Hatsuri is actually the 5th strongest in the school, excluding the first tiers, because Miyuki is probably stronger than him, and let's be honest. And Tatsuya just proved he can beat Hatsuri. So, well, to be fair, actually being able to win against somebody doesn't necessarily mean you're stronger than them. Because it might just be that you have some unique ability that they are just weak against, but that doesn't mean you're stronger. Like, I could have a level 5 Rattata, alright, going up against a level 100 Mewtwo, alright? But if I use freaking Endeavor or Facade or whatever that attack is that makes your health is equal to mine, and I have a Focus Sash or something to keep my health alive, and then I use Quick Attack, that Rattata is going to beat that Mewtwo. Doesn't mean the Rattata is stronger, because it's not, alright? So, that's an interesting comparison, but you get the point. Just because you beat somebody doesn't necessarily mean you're stronger than them, but I think in this case we can assume Tatsuya is just better than Hatsuri. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's how the episode ends. Tatsuya beats Hatsuri, standing tall, like, yeah, that's what happens when you mess with my sister. Tell her logic is clouded. Alright, nah, you don't say that about my sister, you know, so I like this episode, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The scene at the end was good, plus you're getting story development with the student council, public morals committee stuff, along with a little more hints towards things, like with what Erica said about her just doing whatever she wants, and a couple other things. So yeah, I'll give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thought it was good. And that's that. I'll put my live reaction to the episode after this. The review's already pretty long, but it'll still end up being shorter than last week. So I guess that's an improvement. But yeah, that's it, you guys. My live reaction is coming up now. So yeah, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Mari is just too awesome. Nice. Nice. You get to see the full opening for the first time. This show has too many awesome characters. It's just all too awesome. Mari, Mayumi, Erica, Mikihiko. There's just so many. Tatsuya, Miyuki. Haven't even seen Jumonji yet. Well, I mean, like a few seconds will be in the opening, but that's the first time she's talked. Have they even told us her name yet? I mean, I know, obviously, but I think I know how this episode is going to end. I think I know exactly how much they're going to cover. Hopefully they cover the fight. Well, that voice is different than how I imagined it. Yeah. Got those observational skills. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. She's disappointed. Oh man, Tatsuya's awesome. Poor Miyuki, she's just begging for a pet on the head. Loopholes, yes. He's like, wait, what? Exactly, what are you about to get me into? No. That was mean. That was mean, Tatsuya. You knew she was the one person who would break with your stare. Tatsuya, you can't win them all, my friend. There he is. Hanzo Hattori. He's trying to look epic. Go on, man. He's got the brains for it, yo. Come on. That's why Tatsuya's awesome, because his brain is so freaking amazing. He couldn't counter her, so then he just goes to Mayumi. You almost talked a little bit too much there, Miyuki. Almost told his seat. Well, she wouldn't have done that part, but still. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna get it in after all. Nice. That's what she said. See, now he's getting cocky. Yes, yes. Oh, I can't freaking wait. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm like chomping at the bit here. Stop talking. Hurry up. We're running out of time here. You better not end the episode off this way. You better end it the way I want you to end it. Yes. Boom. One shot. Boom. One hit KO. New preview. Oh, still a pretty legit episode. I guess I'll see you guys next time.